My name is Lisa Miller, and I live in Denver, Colorado, a city full of bright lights, mountain air, and endless possibilities. Yet somehow my own home always felt like the darkest place in it. For as long as memory reaches back, I never felt like I truly belonged. I was the shadow in the corner, the forgotten voice, the girl whose presence mattered only when someone needed a chore done. Everything changed when I was 10 years old. My dad, John, remarried, bringing a new woman into our world, Karen. She arrived with polished smiles, perfect hair, and a daughter she treated like delicate treasure. Hazel was her pride, her jewel, her golden miracle. And once they moved in, our house shifted, tilting everything in their favor. Suddenly my dad acted like Hazel walked on water, praising every tiny thing she did, forgiving every mistake she made. Meanwhile, I became the background noise. I was expected to clean up after Hazel, handle her chores, stay quiet, stay grateful, stay invisible. Hazel got huge birthday parties with color-coordinated decorations and catered snacks. I got a small cake with my name barely spelled right, and Dad excused it by saying I was mature and didn't need fuss. But deep inside, I knew better. He simply didn't care. Karen played her part too. She never missed a moment to criticize me, calling me lazy for leaving a cup in the sink, messy for having books on my bed, ungrateful for wanting even a sliver of attention. Hazel could destroy the living room in 15 minutes, paint the walls with glue and glitter, and instead of getting scolded, she'd have Karen laughing, saying, "Oh, sweetheart, she's just being creative," to them. Hazel was the princess, and I was the maid. It wasn't just favoritism, it was erasing me slowly. My choices were questioned, my belongings touched, my privacy ignored. Every inch of the house belonged to them except for my tiny lavender room, the only space where I could breathe. I didn't complain. I didn't want to be painted as the jealous stepsister or the problematic daughter, so I swallowed my feelings and lived on autopilot. But everything has a limit, and the day everything finally snapped looked like any other at first. I had just finished a long shift at the coffee shop where I worked. My feet ached, my head throbbed, and all I wanted was to curl up in my room with a book and shut out the world. Just a little piece, nothing fancy. But when I opened my bedroom door, I froze so hard I felt my heart stop. My walls, the soft lavender I picked with Mom when I was younger, were now a blinding, sugary pink, Hazel's favorite color. My furniture was moved around, my shelves rearranged, my things scattered or missing. It felt like someone had walked into my soul and painted over it. I rushed around the room in growing panic. The worst part hit like a punch in the stomach. My desk was empty, completely cleared off, my college applications, my part-time job schedules, my journals filled with years of thoughts I never told anyone. Gone. All gone. I stormed into the kitchen where Karen hummed a soft tune while making tea, acting like the picture of calm. She barely blinked when I confronted her. "What happened to my room? Where are my things?" Karen turned with her usual fake sweet smile, tilting her head like she was talking to a toddler. "Oh, that," she said lightly. "I decided your room needed a makeover. It was messy, Lisa. Papers everywhere, like a little trash bin. I threw out what wasn't important and fixed it up for you. It looks better now, doesn't it?" My throat tightened so painfully it was hard to breathe. "You threw out my things?" Without asking, she shrugged, sipping her tea. "It's not a big deal. Honestly, you should thank me. I'm helping you grow up." Your room looked like a disaster zone, and that was it. Something inside me snapped so quickly I couldn't control it. "You had no right," I yelled. "Those were my things. You can't decide what matters to me." Karen set her tea down slowly and stood tall, towering over me with that cold, superior look she had perfected over the years. "Lisa," she said sharply, "you've been nothing but ungrateful since I came into this home. You hate me. You hate Hazel. And maybe it's time you look in the mirror and ask yourself why." That was the moment everything I had swallowed for years burst out. Anger, grief, humiliation, all of it broke free. Before I even understood what I was doing, my hand flew up. The slap landed, a sharp, loud crack cutting through the kitchen air. Karen gasped, clutching her cheek as if I had shattered her whole world. What's going on here? My dad's voice roared behind me. He walked in just in time to hear Karen's shaky, dramatic cry as she rushed into his arms. She hit me, John. I was only trying to help her and she hit me. Dad's eyes narrowed at me with a coldness I'll never forget. Lisa, how could you? She's done nothing but try to help you. And this is how you repay her. I stared at him, stunned. She threw out my things. She repainted my room. You're selfish. He snapped. You've always been jealous of Hazel. And now you hit Karen? You've gone too far. Karen sniffled dramatically, clinging to him. Maybe it's better if Hazel and I leave. We don't deserve this, John. Dad held her close, glaring at me like I had destroyed his perfect world. You see what you've done, Lisa? You're tearing this family apart. That was the moment clarity struck hard. Tearing the family apart. That's what he thought of me. Not the years of neglect, the blatant favoritism, the endless cruelty. In that moment, I realized something I should have known long ago. I didn't belong here. I never had. And for the first time in my life, I didn't care. 3 years passed. I cut ties with Dad, Karen, and Hazel. Moving out was painful, terrifying even, but necessary. Slowly, I built a life where my voice mattered, where I didn't wake up feeling unwanted. I worked at a local library, made my own routines, decorated my own tiny apartment. Then one afternoon, as I was finishing a shift, my phone buzzed. Dad, a name I hadn't seen in years. I almost ignored it, but curiosity nudged me. I answered with a coldness I didn't expect. What do you want? His voice was frantic, trembling unlike anything I'd ever heard from him. Lisa, please. I know I'm the last person you want to hear from, but I need your help. Please, just listen. I stayed silent. He took that as permission. Karen and Hazel, they left me, he said, voice breaking. They kicked me out. I made a mistake, a bad investment. I lost money, and now Karen says I'm useless. Hazel sided with her. They took everything, Lisa. Everything. I have nowhere to go. The irony hit me so hard I almost laughed. This was the same man who called me selfish, the same man who defended them at every turn. Now he was the one cast aside. Lisa, he said again, voice shaking. I know I was a terrible father. I know I hurt you, but I've changed. I see now how wrong I was. I miss you. I need you. You're the only one I can turn to. Please let me fix this. A storm of emotions rose in me, anger, sadness, something like pity, but none of it erased what he had done. You need me now, I said slowly. But when I needed you, you ignored me. You chose them every time. I'm sorry, he whispered. I'm begging you. Please. For a brief second, a piece of me wanted to believe him, wanted to hope. But then I remembered the nights I cried alone, the years of being treated like a problem instead of a daughter. No, I said firmly. You made your choices. You chose Karen and Hazel over me again and again. Now go to them. They're your family, remember? I was the selfish one, the jealous one. Lisa, please no. I cut in. Don't call me again. I've moved on, and I'm not coming back. I hung up before he could speak. My hands shook slightly, but the overwhelming feeling wasn't fear, it was freedom. For the first time, I had chosen myself without apology. Sadness lingered, anger flickered, but relief washed over everything. I had finally let go of the weight I carried for far too long. In the weeks that followed that phone call, I found myself reflecting on everything I'd been through. For so long, I had believed that my family's love or lack of it defined me, that somehow their approval or rejection was the measure of my worth. But now, with that final chapter behind me, I could see things clearly for the first time. I wasn't the broken girl they always tried to make me believe I was. I wasn't the messy, ungrateful, or selfish person they painted me as. I was someone who had survived years of neglect and favoritism, who have fought to find her voice and her place in a world that constantly pushed her aside. Cutting ties with them wasn't just an act of rebellion, it was an act of self-preservation. And now, for the first time, I felt free. My life after leaving them had been far from easy, but it was mine. I carved out a path for myself, no matter how rocky it had been. I moved into a small apartment downtown just big enough for me and the catty adopted from a local shelter. I named her Hep because that's what she brought. My started painting again, something I'd done since I was a teenager back then. Karen always mocked my mess little hobby and my dad never bothered to defend me, but now my art had become a source of joy and healing. I turned one corner of my apartment into a studio splattered with colors and canvases that told stories of freedom, strength and renewal. The people in my life now aren't perfect, but they were kinda heavy friends who checked in on me, who celebrated my victories no matter how small. They didn't see me as a burden or on after fall. They saw me for who I was. One afternoon as I sat in my studio, the sunlight streaming through the window, I realized just how far I had come. I wasn't angry anymore, not at my dad, not at Karen, not even at Hazel. Anger had been the fuel that kept me going for years, but now it needed letting go of them. Wasn't just about cutting ties, it was about letting go of the hurt, the resentment, and the weight of their expectations. It thought about my dad's voice on the phone that day, filled with desperation and regret. A part of me hoped he would find his way, that he would learn from his mistakes, but that wasn't my burden to carry. I wasn't responsible for his choices, and I wasn't obligated to save him from the consequences of his actions. For the first time in my life, I felt proud of myself, not for what I'd accomplished, but for who I had become. I was no longer the girl who begged for scraps of affection from people wouldn't see her worth. I was a woman who had chosen herself, who had walked away from toxicity and built a life filled with love and purpose. That night I went out with my friends to celebrate. Well, we toasted, and for the first time in years I felt completely at peace. Wasn't defined by my past anymore.